right. So, sixth chakra. Hang on one second. So sixth chakra would be the Agnya, A-J-N-A chakra, which means I command. And it's often referred to as the command center of the body. And we've said before, it's here's where all the worlds open up to us. This is the place that's most accessible when you're asking yourself or inviting students to start to feel their prana. So when you're starting to learn prana dharana, prana is spelled P-R-A-N-A, and dharana, D-H-A-R-A-N-A. Someone can throw that in the chat, that would be great, which means concentration of prana, because there's already so much prana in the third eye, because there's no element, there's no earth, water, fire, air, or ether. We're above element now. So there's less density. Yeah. And it's usually, pranadharana, thank you. And it's less density. So it's easier sometimes to feel prana there because there's just not an element weighing it down. This is the place where when your sixth chakra is in balance, where you have clarity, a lot of reason, discrimination, you get insights. It's easy to focus. When it's out, you might be kind of stupefied, like, blank, slower in your speech or thought, not able to really grasp or grok a concept. And also it can be a place where you might actually be a little bit over-focused and could be a little on the judgy side and just, kind of on one side, because the third eye, I moved my whiteboard. I'm moving it back. So I need a stage crew. Okay. Because the third eye this person's a very large neck, probably for the, can you see that? Oh, I know, I need to do this. Better? Can you see this okay? Does this even work, this whiteboard thing? Okay. I don't know. So, neck for the day. So the third eye, middle of the forehead we talk about. Some people also say the eyebrow center, which is the point between your eyebrows. Now that really isn't your Agnya chakra, it's the eyebrow center. They're different. Now, if you want to, but if some teacher or a practice says to focus on the eyebrow center, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do it. It'll take you to the third eye. It's like, it's a stop right before the stop you want to get off on. So don't worry about it if you don't think you're doing less than if you're focusing on your eyebrow center. Sometimes if you're having a hard time accessing the third eye, it might actually be useful. Oh, I'm talking to nobody. Hi, there I am. I'm doing all these gestures with my face. Nobody's seeing them. It's pretty awesome. Just, talking into the void. So what I'm saying is if you're directed by a teacher to focus onto your eyebrow center, which is the place between your eyebrows, hence the name eyebrow center, it's almost a gateway to the third eye, which would be the place in the middle of your forehead. Yeah, so they're not the same. And if someone says eyebrow center, it's not the third eye, but don't stress out about it and don't lock into it and don't get all weird about it. Just go with it, be chill, and know that it will take you into the third eye, okay? If you're having a harder time because you're feeling distracted or diffuse or finding the third eye isn't really happening for you, then it might be easier if you just go to the eyebrow center to help you get to the third eye, okay? So it's sort of a gateway. It's a gateway stop, eyebrow center versus third eye. So they're not the same. That might question. We have the nadis, right? And we have these chakras. We've got the root, second chakra, third chakra, heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye, and then the crown chakra, right? And we've got the nadis, those energy currents that go through each chakra. And the cool thing about the third eye is that's where they both meet. They both meet in all these. But one of the things is that this is just a big one where the meeting happens. Because stuff happens here. Woo, third eye, woo. It's a party in your third eye. This is where the rivers converge. You've got your right channel, which is the one that goes up. Well, let's talk about goes in your right nostril, up into the left brain. So that if we're talking about in terms of nostrils, that would be your solar channel. Okay, so that's your active channel. That would be your pingala, so the right channel. I'm talking a little bit about nadis here. So this is review for some of you. Pingala, feel free to throw that in chat. And then the left channel would be the Ida. Yeah, I reversed that dyslexically. And this is where these channels really meet in a big way. I mean, they meet in all the chakras, but the third eye is the place because there's no element involved. This is, a nadi means river. And these rivers converge here in this place of knowingness. Okay. Now there's no tanmatra, there's no organ of knowledge, there's no organ of action, and there's no vayu because we're above all these physical things. So at this point, it's just kind of flat out raw prana in a way. It's not really raw prana, but that's the way I wanted to say it in my rock and roll way of talking. Okay, so the third eye, the eyebrow center. What else do I need to say about the third eye? Did I miss anything in the chart we were filling in? I think I got it all. It's the element of mind. Well, it's mind. This is the place of your mind. And the gland that goes along with the third eye would be your pituitary gland, right? All right. And then if we go to the top of the head, we have the pineal gland. That's where the next gland up. So talking a little bit, before we get into the glands, I want to talk a little bit about the nadis because we didn't really cover it that much, I don't think, last time. Is that true? Okay. And when you've had your 200 hour, you talk about the Ida and the Pingala. In terms of Ida, IDA, Pingala, PINGALA. This is the Ha and Ta of Hatha Yoga. This is the Ha and Ta of Hatha Yoga. This is, and then, so the Pingala would be the Ha, the Ida would be the Ta, the Pingala is your right side, your right channel, the Ida would be your left channel, the Pingala would be your solar channel, left would be your lunar channel. So what that means is your right would be your active channel, left would be your passive channel. So this would be where you're doing. This is more about doing. This is more about receiving. This is your receptive channel. In the Ida, that's where most of the worlds of creativity, your creative process is going. This is probably more of where your linear brain happens. So if you have to do some sort of linear test, you want to make sure your right channel's fired up, the left brain's channeled up. So this would be your left brain because it does cross. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you kind of can. And then your right brain. These are big, broad strokes. Yeah. But the idea of Hatha Yoga is the bringing these two rivers together. In the middle for Sushumna Nadi, I'll put that at the top because it's the middle channel. Sushumna, Sushumna Nadi. So these three nadis, we got one nadi, two nadis, three nadis, come together at the chakras that we've named. That's the cool thing about the 7 that we've listed, is that's where they all meet. Another way to look at the nadis, since we're now past the 200-hour level, is these nadis are almost like two pillars, and Sushumni's in the middle of that, because we are in duality, and to say that we're not in duality is to deny our very existence. So why do we do that? I don't know. That's a different question. We can come up with some cool answers around it. But let's embrace that we are in duality. And so if we look at these nadis, one way to look at it would be to look at it as it's forming a gateway, and it's over the top. Here's my two nadis. And then over here is where they might meet in my third eye, forming that arch around it. So as I'm walking through this gateway of these two nadis, the right and the left, the right nostril, the right river, what do I want to say? The gates of stability and self-trust. That's what I really want to say. So I've got these two pillars, these two sides. I need to feel stable, and I need to really trust myself. And by doing practices that balance these two nadis, as these two nadis come together, then I move into this state of feeling nourished, confident. Then I can really express myself now from my throat. I can really see myself from my third eye. I can really feel myself in my heart. I can really acknowledge my will and my determination of my navel center, and all the way down the chakras. So when these two nadis come together in balance, I really feel the fullness and the shaktis, the unique shaktis and energies and flavors that each one of my chakras brings to the table of my life. Anybody have any questions on nadis?
I did. Sorry, Jean, hearing you talk about this, it just strikes me how, I've heard about balancing the nadis, and we've been talking about the chakras. How do the imbalanced nadis affect the chakras, or do they? Or is this something just purely hypothetical for me? But if they all converge at the chakras, I've heard about balancing the nadis, but I haven't heard about how an imbalanced nadis impact the chakras, and how does balancing the nadis help with this Laya yoga that we're doing in terms of dissolving the nadis?
Great. Yes. Question number 1 that I heard was, how does an imbalanced nadi affect my chakra? Or how does an imbalanced nadi, maybe what does that even look like? Well, let's just start there. So if I'm in my right channel, everything, like I used to, like everything has to be right. Like I'm bringing my right to the table. And it could be this, just whatever is right energy inside of me. That's part of my duality. If I'm bringing more of that side to the table of my life, then I'm leaving part of me out of the conversation. And so now I'm being driven by or governed by a tendency that might be right nadi heavy. Like if I'm a doer, if I'm always needing to be the one in charge, if I'm always active and never receptive or passive, if I'm always solar. And I think in my value system, I believe that is a better place to be, then now that's going to color the lens of my chakras and how I see the world through not only what that chakra brings of its own energy, but now I've colored the amount of energy, because as these nadis go up and feed and put energy and prana into the chakras, when we breathe in and out of our nostrils, I'm skipping for a second. When we breathe in the right side of the nostril, we are charging the air with the right side of us. So we're giving it a different flavor profile. We're giving it a different flavor profile than when we breathe the air through the left nose. And as I give these energy currents to the air, just like when we do the colored water, how we're giving the water a different energy current, as I breathe in through a nostril, it's going to affect my brain differently. It's going to enter my whole concha, all the nose bones, the concha, all the stuff in my head. It's going to enter it differently. It's weighing now and feeding my chakras with now that value system of whatever breathing in the right nostril does for my unique being. When breathing in the left, it's going to it's going to feed that energy. I'm going to bring more prana to the left side of me, my receptive side, my passive side, my creative side. No side's right and wrong here. We need both, and we want both. And as long as we're operating from one side or the other, when you're operating from one side, we literally are waiting for the other shoe to drop. So there's an element of fear that I think goes with operating from a side, because you know you're not the whole package. You know you're not the whole point of view. So literally, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you know that side's going to have to come around sometime. Which is why we want to stay in neutral, and I'm not saying boring or, not engaged or not affected by or not sensitive to. I'm talking about a pure neutral where I'm not afraid, because I am in both sides. So I'm not waiting for the other shoe to drop. So now I've got the same amount for me, and it's not a 50-50 split all the time, depending on who we are and how we're wired. So don't think of it in terms of a math equation. I got it, but let's say I've balanced my right and my left. So I'm in wholeness. That means I am now in present moment, and I am in a place of no fear. I'm in a place of sukha and sthira, because sukha and sthira are also two sides of these nadis. Let's just say. I'm not going to tell you which nadi is which, but we have two different things here. So we've got a dual game playing. When I have both, I'm in Sushumna. I'm in the place where there's both at the same time. And for me to be able to experience a place of bothness, I can't be in one or the other. So that's when we say we're trying to balance the nadis. We're just trying to not exclude a nadi. And we're trying to not overvalue a nadi. There's going to be times you want to fire up, your body. You just had a big meal. That's a good time to fire up that right nostril. Get those digestive things going. Get some energy moving. Yeah. It's like, that's why when you have a meal, they tell you to lie on your left side, because your right nostril's on the top. So you're going to be feeding that channel. When they say when you're really full and you're having a hard time digesting, they tell you not to lie on your right side, because then your left nostril's up, and that's not the nostril where you're going to be digesting. So how does it affect my chakras? It's because now I'm bringing this amount of energy of what I'm valuing to what's already there in the chakra, and I'm waiting the chakra, not like I'm waiting for a bus, but I'm waiting with physical weight, my chakra to look a different way, or to see the world through a different way. Plus, through its lens, I've added another lens to how it sees the world, to how it's seeing my perception, how I'm perceiving. So, and how do we, in this game of Laya yoga, Laya yoga that we're playing here with the Kundalini and the chakras, we're dissolving. One of the ways that we dissolve the material and the thought forms and the habits and the tendencies that we have decided, remember our brain's a recorder, and it's made decisions, and each chakra has its own set of information from our brain, the recorder, the decider, what it's information that is gathered, that it's thrown into each one of the chakras. The way we override that and to get to pure essence is the Kundalini moments of finding the balance where, in the lore, in what the yogic texts say, is that Kundalini pierces, it enters the chakra as Sushumna, as both sides being equal, and the presence of equanimity will dissolve any of that overvaluing or that judgment that lies in each one of those chakras. So that's that Kundalini rising. It's your state of present moment. It's your state of non-judgment that is your Kundalini informing those points of energy concentration. I think that was a really good description. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm just saying, every now and then you go, wow, that was a good one. And I think that was a good one. Thanks for asking the question. Was that clear? Did I leave any part of your question off, Mia? Yeah. Anybody else have any questions about nadis and how we? And remember, these nadi charts that we see, always remember to run it through your own unit. Because these are statements that have happened for most people that have done the research and written it down. You may be wired differently, literally. So, if you find that for you, when you need to digest, you need to lay on your other side and fire up that other nostril, don't say you're doing it wrong. How your life is turning out and how things work out for you that's you really having now agency of your own system now. To say, yes, I tried it that way. It just never worked for me that way. You go to your teachers, you ask them, and hopefully your teacher's not going to tell you you're doing it wrong, unless you're like kind of doing something a little to lead you to the results you're getting that they can see. But ultimately, there may be a time where your teacher may not have that experience and have never had, maybe you are the being that your teacher's never run into before. And after giving it that old college try or high school try or kindergarten try or just trying from a place of not being in school, you keep finding something else happening for you. You go with that until it doesn't happen for you that way anymore, because it will lead you, your own intelligence will lead you to your next point of discovery. So again, it's just like saying being right-handed is better than left-handed. It is, unless you're a left-handed person. This works unless it doesn't. And the more I live, the more I'm wondering how many of these charts that we are given, we've just sort of swallowed. And how many people have been, like we're talking about throat chakra today, how many of us have been silent and not said, hey, that isn't my jam. That isn't my finding. And because we haven't felt safe enough to say what's going to go against the big power at the big authority figure of the room, whatever that is. Because there wasn't a safe space to bring in a different experience. Can we break that paradigm? Are we willing in ourselves to really take these practices to our own lab, which would be the lab of us? Really try some things. See what works. What do you come up with? And then if you come up with something different, there's times when, of course, it's not appropriate to bring it up because, why rock the boat? It doesn't matter. You don't have to talk about it unless your ego needs it or something like that. But there might be a time where you might want to go on the quiet with your authority figure and say, hey, this was not my finding. And am I missing something? Did I overlook something? Because they might guide you to a way where, yeah, then you're going to see that star or that red yantra or whatever that everyone else is seeing in the room but you, or they're saying they're seeing it but you. When I left my own personal cave of my life and my own experience, and my teacher, Dr. Franklin, who wouldn't tell me anything about anything that I was experiencing, and I walked into the bigger world of yoga, popular yoga, and I just saw how everyone was telling people what they should be seeing and what they shouldn't be seeing, and you know, what they should be feeling and what they shouldn't be feeling. And that was just like nails on a chalkboard for me. Now, did I confront it all the time? No, because it wasn't the time. But you all, as yoga practitioners and teachers and beings and leaders in this world, part of the practice of yoga is for you to learn the discernment about when is the time to speak and say, that's not my finding. And this is where we get back now to the pillars and to the sukha and the sthira and to the expression, is that we talk about the Sushumna is that place of no fear because you're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's also the place, if we look at great leaders like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, people like that, you know what they had was sukha and sthira. They had steadiness and there was an ease about them. I'm not saying there wasn't a passion. I'm not saying they didn't go through duality. I'm not saying they didn't have human experience. But the one thing they weren't afraid of is being killed. They couldn't live their life because that's one of the kleshas, right? Abhinivesha, fear of loss, fear of death. Yeah. Mahamrityunjaya mantra, fear of death. The idea of we do Mahamrityunjaya mantra so we don't fear death. Now, I'm just saying it's interesting that when we get to that point in our own truth, we're not afraid of how our truth will be received. It's less about how it's going to be received because we're really moving from a place of, it's time for me to say this. And they're coming from a place of sukha and sthira, not ego. And that's why we can learn a lot from looking at those who have created that sort of being in Sushumna Nadi in the world in the way that they are. Questions or comments about that? Okay. So, talked about and then I'm just going to talk about the seventh chakra while we're here. Good one, Linda. I'm not afraid how my truth will be received. Nice effort. Yeah. Feel free to use that, anyone. I mean, we can get into a bigger conversation about truth too, you know, like that means we reached a level of really being honest with ourselves and how many little lies do we tell ourselves? And that's a whole other workshop that's coming up in a theater near you. In a life near you. That's where we start to talk about koshas and the manifest your resplendent life ones that'll probably be in 2020. But they go through all of the trainings because it is a part of why we're doing these practices in the first place. To know ourselves so we know what is habit, what is someone else's truth that we've adopted for right now, and what really is true for us. And we may not know some things. We have to just try, though. We have to try things out. So remember, it's okay. Again, one of the paradigms I'm committed to breaking is the fact that failure in our culture is not looked upon as a very good thing. And I think failure is where it's at. I mean, you know, the only reason why we have anything that's successful is because of all the failures that built it. Yeah. So without those successes would be nothing if that person was afraid to fail over and over and over and over again. I mean, look at me in relationships. I've had a slew of really bad ones. And, you know, I just failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. And finally, I decided to stay in one and I just kept freaking failing. And now I'm in one, and I'm in the same one now for 20 some, 25, 6, some, maybe 7. I don't know the dates, but years, more than 25. And through my failures, I'm feeling like I'm having success. Finally, it's worth it. Through my practice failures, through my attitudinal shift failures, through my trying new language failures, through me figuring out what my truth is failures, all those failures, yay. Of course I got it wrong because I was figuring it out. All right, so yay. Fail on, people. All right, so Sahasrara, the top chakra, the one that is the 7th chakra, we don't talk about that much. It is the 1,000-petaled lotus. And as I've mentioned before in other classes, and maybe this one, the thing about Sahasrara is the 1,000 was the largest number at the time when these things are written down, which was a very long time ago, that they could think of. So it's really not 1,000 petals. It's just infinite. Like if you can think of the number, it's not big enough. So just know that the 1,000 is a placeholder lyric for the actual amount of petals, which would be a number that is so big we can't imagine it. That's the energy of the Sahasrara. This is beyond all elements. Location is somewhere in the crown. The pineal is the gland. There's no physical element there, so there's no organs of action or anything like that in there. And this is where we are. This is the place where it doesn't go up and out. Again, that's our ego talking, I think. It comes down and in. And this is our judgments, are that reduction valve here, which the more we're judging, the more we're on a side, the less of the wholeness we can let in through our crown. So if I'm judging something, my reduction valve gets smaller and I get less universal insight. And I'm more than left with the insights that my brain and my tendencies have come up with to come up with an answer. Does that make sense? So the more I'm having the judgment, the more my reduction valve is. When I have a situation where I can make a choice, if I'm judging, I'm going to be squeezing out any new way of looking at it or any way of hashtag doing it differently from myself. And I'm left with whatever I had come up with before. Because I'm going to come up with something. And this is not to say that some of the things that we came up with before will work until they don't. And then we need to stop judging if we want a new insight. Otherwise, we're just going to rehash ourselves over and over and over again. And this Kundalini is that pathway, it's that gateway. Sushumna Nadi is that central channel that is judgment free. So it's like the judgment free zone. Like if you could take a time out in your own Sushumna, like if you're judging the crap out of something, can you just take a time out in present moment? Like send yourself to your own Sushumna corner. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to practice? I'm just thinking of this practice right now. Let's say you're having a judgy day and you tell yourself, self, as you're talking to yourself, self, I need a time out. I'm going to go to your Sushumna. And just tell yourself to go there and see what happens. Maybe you'll go there. Wouldn't that be awesome? Just say, go to your Sushumna. As if you were punishing a child. Go to your Sushumna right now. Don't come out until you're done judging whatever. I don't know. I would love for some of y'all to get on that train and try that practice and get back to me with your findings, because I think that could be a really powerful one. And we should write that down for my book of practices. So if someone wouldn't mind doing that and sending it to me, for my book that's coming out in a theater near you, maybe next year, because I had to table it for this year, but it's almost next year for sure. I say that now. I might be lying. I mean it right now though. Okay. Questions about these two chakras, then I'm going to move to the glands. Maria, I know I said an hour tops. I probably lied.
Is there indications of imbalance or out of balance? Can it even go in balance or out of balance since it's coming in down and in?
It's all about for the sixth.
Yeah, or the seventh. Are we at the seventh?
Seventh. Yes, seventh. Well, it's divine, so it's never out of balance. So then it's all about us and how we're receiving what's there.
Okay, it's all about the aperture that we have.
Yes, the aperture.
Okay, and then is this related then to pranavayu?
No pranavayu because it's beyond pranavayu.
Okay.
All the vayus. There's no pranavayu for third eye either, really. Is there?
Okay.
Did I say there was a pranavayu for the third eye?
Well, you said pranadharana starts there, so wouldn't that kind of be prana?
Well, maybe be the pranavayu. I have to think about that. It's a great question. Pranadharana is the collection of prana. And that's where we're talking about big P prana versus the little p, like the pranavayu.
Yeah.
So it's because when we talk about prana, it's just like so many topics. Let me see if I made myself a note here. Yeah, I sort of don't think that there's a vayu there for the third either, for a particular vayu. It'll be affected by all vayus. It's kind of beyond vayu, but I know for the top, nothing, no vayu. It's less physical than a vayu.
How is it related? Because isn't there another chakra that's kind of above our head? I mean, is it kind of related to that?
Yeah.
I do feel something up here. But
yes. Yes, because you're bigger than your physical body. And so, yes, we do feel, I'm getting down in my chair so you can see my hand. Yes, we do feel energy above our head. We do feel energy out to our sides. We feel our etheric body, our aura. We can feel how big our prana goes out and in, and it's bigger, it's deeper than how big our body is. Yeah. When you take breath in and you're feeling a pranic relationship to breath, it can go for, if I'm gonna use the linear word, like miles and miles and miles, even though I don't have very many miles in here. Yeah. I have inches, but it can go for a long time because it's prana. So it's a different now size of yourself. And yeah, there are chakras up here, and I don't really talk about those that much, partially because I'm not sure it's that useful for me to really know what they are. Because to me, once I'm kind of in this zone, I have access to so much. Why would I want to, for me, this is for me, I haven't really been drawn to putting another picture out there about, oh, and this one does this, and this one does that, and that one does that. Because then it's my mind, and I'm not having an experience anymore. And if I get so refined in my pranic awareness that I start to actually have a relationship with these instead of something that someone told me in a book, then I will start looking into them a little bit more deeply. But I haven't had the specificity myself up here. I've had bigger, but I personally haven't had the specificity, which is one reason I don't teach it. That's why I don't think for me, it's not useful to know yet. I'd rather discover and then look it up. But yeah, we're bigger than our bodies for sure. Linda.
Would you say that Sahasrara, the crown chakra, when balanced and sattvic, to me, it feels like grace, or does that word resonate with the crown chakra with you?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Yes, grace, because for me, my definition of a grace is divinity. It's the oneness, it's the wholeness, it's that, it's Shashumna, it's that place where I'm in present moment, it's that place of I'm not judging. It's that place of magic. It's that which takes you across, into those other realms of meditation. It's
Yeah,
that,
when you said that it's like there's a drawing down. It I've done meditations with like grace, sort of receiving like grace. And that's when you said that, that's the first sort of image that came to me.
yeah,
Sort of this receiving of grace, receiving understanding, all of it, receiving forgiveness, whatever it is that feels like grace. Yeah.
yeah. I would say,
Feels
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's sweet yeah. And then this up and out thing that we feel, I would say that's us having an experience of our own prana, our energy. That's just my opinion. I'm,
Thank you.
yeah, this is me, but you might have a different experience and story around it, and that's valid and valuable. All right. Anything else on sixth or seventh chakras before I move on to the glands? So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then Lindsay will that will be chakras, and I'll do glands. That'll be better, I think, for breaking it down. If you want to rewatch.